He knows that things are wrong, but he believes that freedom is very important. He has come to the conclusion that freedom is the right to do wrong. It is the right to do as he pleases. But then, if he was scientific, he would know this is not true. There isn't an atom that floats in space that is free. Everything is under immutable energy principles and laws. And man is also under these laws. And he has tried from the beginning of his existence to wiggle out from under them. He has tried to create a human code of existence that will hold and survive in a divine world of immutable principles. At least after all these ages, we have reached a point where we can contemplate something of this immutable world in which we live. We begin to realize that somewhere out there, where we do not know, but we're not going to find it out where it is by means of space flights, because these things are all on a level. They are part of a physical experience of enlargement, but the answer does not lie in the physical. The answer comes through the physical, but from a source much higher than itself. So we are looking for peace in corpuscles and in atoms and molecules, when we can only find it on an entirely different basis. We have to recognize gradually that the foundation of life is something that we build with the heart, the mind, and the hand. Build it ourselves. Build it through our own conduct. Most all mystics from the earliest time have held it to be true that growth is the basis of enlightenment, that the individual must come to a higher state of understanding because he has achieved a higher state of conduct. Now, this is one of the problems that has been known from the times of the Greeks and Hammurabi and the pharaohs of Egypt, and back even further into the mysteries of the cave dwellers. Namely, that to be better, you must do better. You must solve problems, or the problems will come back. You cannot avoid responsibility without having the consequences of avoidance to live with. These things are very obvious and very sensible, and there's no one that lives through a normal lifespan who hasn't plenty of evidence accumulated to make these necessary improvements in himself. But again, we are in a problem. And in this problem, I think we have to recognize that most people are in a state of great confusion. They are confused with fear and uncertainties. They are reaching out for solutions, but the solutions for the most part are problems in character and integrity, and these are not yet the dominant approach to the solution of difficulties. We are looking for an answer to a world that seems to be crumbling around us. And in this state of things, fear moves in. This fear leads to neurosis. And this neurosis leads to a whole complex of psychological conditions. The individual, frightened to death over the problems of the day, discouraged and variously afflicted by the competitions around him in life, is looking for peace of mind, peace of soul, peace of living. And he doesn't know where to find it, and he doesn't know how to find it. Now, out of all of this also, we have another phenomenon coming along. These disturbed, uncertain, mostly anxious people, in whose personal lives difficulties are piling up, are developing internal hypersensitivities which can break through a series of psychic phenomena. This psychic phenomena has been the problem since the beginning of history. And there's no denying that some of it is genuine, but there's also no way of denying that much of it is an escape mechanism of a troubled mind. And where this comes along, the individual is apt to find that he is self-deluded, and that he is also escaping the real fact. It is easier to hope to dream one's way to enlightenment than it is to sit down and take care of the problems that are causing the trouble. So to get down to basics, growth is a matter of improvement and control and discipline. It is not a problem of hope and expectancy and various escape mechanisms which look as though they might make life a little more comfortable, but in the end generally make it more desperate and dangerous. Actually, the internal life is part of a divine plan. It is true, as it was in the days of Egypt and the Grecian philosophers, that those who are able to improve the standard of their own personal living are the ones who are keeping the rules and therefore capable of having a good religion, a good philosophy, and a proper activity to keep the hand well occupied. So the problem is, do we want to fool ourselves again? Or do we want to accept strange abstractions that mean nothing in daily living? Are we going to follow out into some starry mystery world beyond when we can't live decently here? The thoughtful person, again, is looking for basics, looking for foundations upon which to build and gain for himself a proper form or pattern for daily existence. So we find always that the individual has to work his own life into a pattern of consistencies. Wherever so-called mystical experiences arise without proper discipline of character, there is danger. There is the possibility that the person is being self-deluded or is being deluded by others because he is willing to accept a shortcut to enlightenment, which does not exist. Therefore, we start in on basics. We have to earn the ability to use them. Our basics in religion come very simple and very easy. Religiously, the beginning of religion is religious conduct. The individual who lives the religious life will receive the consolation of an internal religious adjustment. If he earns an inward enlightenment in the field of religion, he will receive it. If he does not earn it, he must take second-hand hope from others who may not have found it either. So I think they have to take into consideration immediately that all solution is a matter of growth. It is not a matter primarily of what society is doing or institutions that are being built. It is primarily the individual correcting his own mistakes. And by correcting his own mistakes, increasing the area of his insights and understandings. When the person has found a proper level of internal adjustment, then he can read with benefit. Then he can study with success. Then he can study any art or science, trade or craft, and unsoul it from within himself. He can be a carpenter, but he can also be a mystic carpenter. And a mystic carpenter does not mean that the carpenter starts to build houses in the abstract elements of space. He builds the house right here, but he has within himself an insight as to what it all means. And like the Essenes of the Holy Land, who were carpenters by trade, he builds, put the best he knows into it. Everything he does is a masterpiece from his own heart, because it is through building homes for those who need them that he worships God. All constructive labor is worship, and labor without worship is very little reward, and very often leads to a shoddy and inadequate relationship with the jobs at hand. So religion is work. Religion is doing these things in everyday existence. Religion is the individual who worships by keeping the integrities of life. He worships by caring for his children. He worships by maintaining the ethics of his community in every way that he can. He worships by being honest in his weights and measures. He worships also by forgiving his enemies. He worships by meeting every responsibility that is normal to him, growing through the fulfillment of proper activity rather than the effort to avoid or evade it.